Um, Welcome to a new liturgical year. This is very beautiful. Of course, we know with the meaning of Advent, it comes from the Latin word advenere, which means to come, or somebody's coming. And of course, when somebody's coming, you got to be prepared. Like I went to the house of my friends the other night to celebrate Thanksgiving. So they prepared. Everyone prepares for something very, very special. But this beautiful season of Advent is a reminder of what it really was back in the days. Back in the medieval times, or even earlier, 1500 years ago, Christians prepare for Christmas with fasting. They fasted for 3 days a week, and later on they even fasted every day. We live in a different world now. It's not fasting anymore, it's shopping. Right? And for a lot of people, season of Christmas or Advent, while we prepare for Christmas, it's about shopping, it's about gifts and toys and parties and vacations and sending greetings here and there. But for us who know our faith, we know that this is more than that. We know that this is a spiritual journey. This is a journey to God. And we only need one thing. We make it a prayerful journey to God. And for a lot of people, well, of course, it's Advent. It's here we go again, Advent, and now the new liturgical year, and then Christmas, and then all the seasons. If you take a look at it, it's like, it's repetition. Every year we do all these things. We go through these process. But this is like a spring. Well, if you look at it from one angle, it's just like circle. It's just going round and round in a circle. But if you look at it from another angle, you know that although it's a circling mode, it continues to ascend. It is a spiral ascent. So that what we want to do for this Advent is that we grow in the spirit of Christ's love and knowledge of Him. It should be a spiritual ascent. Now, you ask yourself, what did I do last year, last Advent, last Christmas? Should I make this Christmas different? Should I make this Advent different? You bet. Because as followers of Jesus, we need to improve in our relationship with God. And there are many things and many ways we can do that. But let us be the shining example for people that this season is not about the consumerism, the materialism that we see all around us, but this is really about a spiritual revolution, a spiritual rebirth and awakening for us to know God, to love Him, and to serve Him in our lives. Our first reading comes from the prophet Isaiah. Isaiah lived about 700 years before Christ. And he must have witnessed the destruction of the northern kingdom. If you remember, we talked about it. It was very, very fast. I did that last week. But, it was in the year 722 that the northern kingdom, well, of course, we know that there was a division after the death of Solomon, the King Solomon. There was a division again of the kingdom of Israel, became the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom they called Israel, and the southern kingdom they called Judah. And so Isaiah prophesied around this time, the year 700, in Jerusalem, in Judah. And he probably saw the destruction of the northern kingdom. And everyone in the southern kingdom, which was centered in Jerusalem, was living in fear. Because they know that, oh my God, we're next. They have been weakened because of their division. They divided that kingdom. The Assyrians, of course, were very powerful. They were great warriors. They belonged to what we call now the northern part of Iraq and Syria. They came from the north and invading the south and conquering the northern kingdom. And so they were waiting. And instead of, prophesying destruction and defeat and darkness and death, it's miraculous because Isaiah, in his vision, saw the coming of peoples from all over the world to worship in Jerusalem. And everyone will be ascending to that mountain. And everyone will be given instructions from Jerusalem to the ends of the earth. That Jerusalem becomes the center. There will be destruction. Of course, probably he knew that there will be defeat. And as a matter of fact, they were defeated and exiled into Babylon. But he kept the hope of the people that Jerusalem becomes the center of faith. And we all nations will stream toward it. And that we all will worship the one God. And of course, in the gospel, we see now that Jesus giving the instructions to his apostles and his disciples. This is the 24th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew. And he was already talking about, the conquest and the great destruction. But he told them that you have to be strong and be prepared. Because the time will come that you will worship God not in this holy mountain, but you will worship God in spirit and in truth. And so, reminding us that we are a people on a journey towards God. We are a pilgrim people. That is actually what Isaiah was saying. All people will journey towards Jerusalem. Our Jerusalem is Christ himself. It's not a place. Our journey is towards God himself, towards Jesus, our Savior. And he wants us to make this a very spiritual and meaningful journey towards him. And there are many ways to do that. We have the sacraments to nourish us, the Holy Eucharist, confessions, the Holy Rosary, the praying. Let it be a different celebration of the preparation for the coming of Christ for us. We should be shining examples, beginning with our families. That we tell them it's not about the gifts. Although you give gifts, you buy gifts, but you have to make the spiritual preparation. Truly, the most important thing is for God to see us ready to welcome him in our hearts, in our souls. We ask Jesus to help us along this journey. And we ask the Blessed Mother to help us prepare for this. Because I have always been thinking that Mary, being the first person to learn about the coming of the Son of God, prepared for that. I can't imagine how she dealt with it. She was very young, very poor, humble, and she didn't have like a strong man. Well, Joseph was there, but he was not like a banker or a CEO or a rich man. He was a very simple carpenter. And they had to make do with what they had. But Mary was full of trust and faith in God, trusting in the will of God, and always meditating and contemplating about God. There was a total spiritual communication between Mary and God. She prepared. She was the first person to do preparation for the coming of the Savior. She should be our greatest teacher for Advent, to really meditate on the meaning of the coming of Christ into the world and into our lives. We know that Jesus has already come in our history. He was born of the Blessed Virgin Mary in the flesh. And we also know that as Christians, we are waiting for the second coming and the glorious coming of Christ. And in the meantime, we are in this time and space. But we know too that God comes to us daily, again through the sacraments, to the words of sacred scriptures, to the relationships that we have with one another, whether good or bad, because God is in each one of us. And we know that Mary can teach us along this way. Let this Advent be different. Let this Advent be a reminder that we are people in search for the truth, that we worship God in spirit and in truth. But still go shopping, all right? Go shopping, but let it not be the center of this celebration. Kids, toys are important, but Jesus is even more beautiful. Parties, vacations, all of these things, they come and go, but the love of God will be with us until the end of time.